Hi, I'm Jim McCann, founder of 1-800-Flowers. We created this podcast to share the wonderful people we get to interact with, we get to meet, we get to know, and most importantly, get to learn from. So I invite you to join us on this journey here on the Celebrations Chatter podcast. We're here today with an exciting guest. Exciting because Jason Eichenholz is doing some amazing things, and I'm happy to be able to share with you today his story and the story that's coming together for what's called Jonathan's Landing. And we're here today with Anthony Porcelli from Smile Farms, new to Smile Farms, but he's doing some really interesting things as we promote creating opportunities for adults with disabilities, particularly developmental disabilities, and finding work opportunities for them, career opportunities, career training for them. And lo and behold, Jason and I met just this past March. I was online to get a beverage at the bar, and behind me was this fellow named Jason. And we got to chatting, and I was fascinated by your story, Jason. But let's lay a little bit of background. Of course, like half the world, you come from Brooklyn.
Only the best.
And then you grew up in Weston, Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. But you moved here to Central Florida when?
In 1993. Mm-hmm. I came down to get my PhD.
You're an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
You've had an amazing career in the sciences. So you come down here, your area of interest is optics. Mm-hmm. And you get your master's and your PhD here at UCF. And then what was your career like? What has your career been like since then?
You know, it's interesting. Is I was always a tech guy, business geek and as well, but I was always interested in the commercialization aspects. And I was fortunate that I had, early in my career, even in high school, I was in a summer program through the National Science Foundation at Rensselaer, and I got to meet a Nobel Prize winner.
How neat.
It was awesome. It was also career-changing because I realized I was smart, and smarter than I thought I was, but I wasn't that smart. I wasn't going to be that Nobel Prize winner. I said, all right.
I might as well go make money.
I figured, what are you going to do? If you know, it's kind of like you're a baseball player. You realize you're not going to make the majors. What do you do? All right, I'll go to college and go play baseball. So I said, if I can combine my love for technology and my love for business and merge them, maybe I can make a career. Maybe I can make a name for myself. Maybe I could do something differentiated.
Now, you've had a terrific career. You're still a young guy, but you've had successful exits of business. And then you had a reckoning as you realized that with your children, your son, Jonathan's on the autism spectrum. He's very, very good at some things. But you, as he turned 18, you told me, you've become increasingly concerned. And it's funny to read in your materials, which I have, and to hear from you when we've chatted either in person or on the phone, that you have the same concern that a responsible sibling or parent has with a child with special needs, and that is when you put your head on the pillow at night, you ask yourself the question, what happens after I'm gone? Mm-hmm. And you told me that was a haunting question that you didn't have an answer for, and you decided, wait a minute, I have some skills, I have some experiences, I have some wherewithal. Let me answer my own question, and that gave birth to this idea of Jonathan's Landing. So tell us about that process, that thought process.
Yeah, it's been call it a 16-year journey so far. Jonathan was diagnosed at age 2 and told his mom and I, the doctor said, Jonathan has his feet in both worlds. You meet Jonathan, it takes you about 20 seconds to figure out he's on the spectrum. Mm-hmm.
But which is sometimes an advantage. What I mean by that is my brother Kevin, who's developmentally disabled, you wouldn't know right away until you begin to interact with him. And I think that's caused him to get into trouble sometimes because people don't know what to make of him.
Correct. And hopefully they figure it out before he tries to pickpocket them and take their phone to clear their notifications. But he's clearly on the spectrum. Yes. And it doesn't take long hearing him talk to figure that out. But what the doctor said that's unique about Jonathan is he has his feet in both worlds. He's also very personable. He's also exceptionally charming. More so than me. You talked about that soft side. Yep. He's disarming to people. I don't even know how to put my finger on how he does it, but he does it. He's got these people that just love him. And so the doctor said it was our job, it was our responsibility as Jonathan's parents to pull Jonathan as much as we could out of that world and into our world. And we took that really seriously. And so we were constantly trying to do inclusive things, sometimes things he wasn't ready for, to pull him out of that world. And so I ended up with a very socially engaging young man who loved to be around people. And I believe that was a little bit of divine intervention. Brichette, it was meant to be that I had Jonathan, so that now that I'm where I'm at, I don't just say, all right, here, go in your garage apartment, 24/7 care, the rest of your life, done.
Yeah.
That box is checked. But how do I create a community where my son can thrive and where we can operate at a scale where he's around people all day long?
And you're part of that community.
Yes. I want to be
It's not
part
an
of
isolated over there community.
And that's exactly the point. The point is it's not isolated. The point is to engage the community, for it to be inclusive, so that the community understands our kids, and our kids have a place in the community to be active and thrive and be employed and live and interact.
And how do they get to their most and best career opportunities?
So I think that's the biggest challenge right now. And by the way,
you said Jonathan's a bit of a savant with iPhones and
absolutely
mobile phones and devices.
And he loves to cook, and he loves to prepare food. He loves to eat food, but so does his dad. But how do we create meaningful careers in addition to a safe place to live? And that was the genesis of Jonathan's Landing, is coming from an abundance mindset rather than a scarcity mindset. And that is only possible for me because I've had the exits in business and the success in business that I did. And that's rare to have that kind of success and that kind of an exit, but it was a motivator to do something big after a decade of a scarcity mindset, of putting your head on the pillow and saying, I don't know what I'm going to do, or worse, looking at a menu at a restaurant and saying, I'm going to skip the appetizer because each appetizer is a copay. It's a copay for speech, a copay for ABA, a copay for physical therapy. The parents of kids, as they're approaching the services cliff at age 21,
I saw that in materials. That's already become part of my vocabulary, because I used to describe it as, when you come to the end of school age, there's nothing left for you to do. The services cliff just encapsulate that for me. That's well thought out.
It's horrible, and but it's the worst possible time, because you're hitting a services cliff at the same time that, unfortunately, most families are emotionally and financially bankrupt.
Yes.
Their kid didn't get mainstream. They're not going to go to college. They don't know what they're going to do. And financially, they've put all of their money, including probably their 401k, in services.
Yes.
Who's going to be there for them? And unfortunately, there's not a lot of solutions, because that's exactly when services run out.
Anthony will tell you, and I'll attest, that we don't go a week that we don't get introduced, bump into, or meet a family that's facing that exact same situation. Usually they've already been a year or two at home with nothing to do, no work, and they start to deteriorate kind of dramatically. When we first got the idea for Smile Farms, maybe we're a year in, and we did that in partnership with an agency on Long Island where my brother Kevin lives, in one of their group homes called IGHL, Independent Group Home Living, started by a friend of mine who I think is saintly. And he read about all these people being put out of Willowbrook in Staten Island, a state hospital system that Governor Cuomo decided to close after Geraldo Rivera, the famous TV journalist, did an expose when he worked for ABC News, saying how bad the conditions were there. So the governor's solution was to close them and say, we'll give them services in the community. Well, obviously there weren't enough services. So people like Walter Stockton, and he went to a local business group and said, hey guys, these people who are being put out, a lot of them from our community, let's pass the hat. I'll give up my job and I'll open up a group home here. And he came to us and suggested that we start Smile Farms to create opportunities for my brother and all the other people in his agency like him who would benefit from having a job in the community. Because I know, that a job is a lot more than a paycheck. So we went to a dinner that IGHL put on every year, the Thursday after Mother's Day. And a couple came up to me and thanked me for what we had started with Smile Farms, because it turns out that their daughter had hit the services cliff. She'd been home for a couple of years. Good news is she had two parents, both of whom worked, and so they had a house and she had a place to be. And she had a brother and a sister who were married and lived nearby, who she was socially interactive with, which was important. But as she got crankier and lonelier and more depressed, she became very difficult to be around. Her health deteriorated. She was hard to be around emotionally. And they explained to me how she'd been deteriorating for a couple of years. And he confessed to me, which was painful to hear, that he sometimes made excuses to stay at work through dinner so he didn't have to go through the anguish around the dinner table. But they said because she was now working at Smile Farms, that her health was improving, her weight was improving, her disposition was improving, and that her brother and sister had re-engaged with her, so it was getting better socially too, all because she was working in a greenhouse, growing plants and flowers and food stuff for the community. And that's why we started this, and it's what motivates you too, I'm sure. But there's so much to be done because, as you point out, 1 in 36 children now are diagnosed on the spectrum, and that's down. That's an increase from maybe 15 years ago. It was 1 in every 153.
Yeah, something like that. It's the way I look at it is, and the numbers are going up.
Yeah.
That 1 in 36, we're going to sleepwalk our way into a crisis.
It's just overwhelming.
It's overwhelming. In Central Florida alone, the UCF Center for Autism supports 20,000 individuals each year.
When you say supports, how do they support?
It could be support groups. It could be helping identify where to get services. It could be connecting caregivers to people. It could be also just supporting, helping those parents from that first hug that they need after diagnosed.
And that's after services cliff?
No, that's just in general.
In general.
That's the, to use business
from
terms,
birth
serviceable available market for us.
Okay.
So when I look at our mission to create 500 residents, places for 500 people to live in the community, and to create 5,000 jobs, 500 residents with 20,000 individuals, there's a gap there.
Yeah.
And so I said, hey, if we build a 50-bed facility, how long will the wait list be? And they said 5 years.
Yeah.
This is Terry Daly at UCF. And I said, great. She runs the center. I said, great. What if I make it 500? And she goes, 5 years.
The challenge is unmeetable.
The challenge is huge. This is Central Florida. 1 in 36, we're sleepwalking our way into the crisis. So when we're building Jonathan's Landing, our model with live and work as equal pillars, everything we're doing is open source.
Okay, I love that. Explain what you mean by it's open source.
What I mean is I'm Jason here in Central Florida. I'm the catalyst and the spark to provide the resources and the ideas to go create this here in Central Florida. But if we create
But you don't want it to be just here in Central Florida.
It can't be just here in Central Florida. It's got to be worldwide. So if there's someone in upstate New York, whether it's in Poughkeepsie or in Manhattan, they can look at the model where live and work are equal pillars, where being able to engage partners, to operate at scale, and to have social enterprises as part of that job program. Take that entire model, say, here you go, copy everything you want for free, and replicate it. I don't care if it's in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, or in Poughkeepsie. Take it, and there's hopefully another person like me or families like me that can say, oh, yeah, why don't we do this instead?
I think it's noble and so needed. I so applaud what you're doing. So where are you in your planning stage now, Jason?
So we're just getting started. We just hired a new acting CEO, Kimberly McCartan, who's amazing, who's helping organize it. We've got committees working on the live and the work side. No one has built a 500-person inclusive community. It's never been done. There's some great examples around the country at around 50.
And
There's one town.
you've done your homework.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've engaged them. We've got some of the best consultants in the industry who built these things leading our live side. And we're engineering and designing both where do we want to put it and how do we engage the community.
Mm-hmm.
Ahead of that right now is our work program and our first social enterprise. And so we've identified an area where we can create a meaningful career pathway for individuals with special needs and neurodiversity.
Mm-hmm.
And we're bringing in partners from around the world to help us do that. And that's really exciting. It's these cell phones. We're creating a company in the cell phone tablet repair, refurbishment, and asset disposition.
Mm-hmm.
We started there because, one, I'm a tech guy. This is what I do.
I don't know if you're really a tech guy. You only have 85 patents.
I know. Now you sound like
Sitting around doing
my
nothing.
mom, right? Yeah. Right. So this is what I know how to do, how to create a company. We've partnered with the Consumer Telephony Industry Association, CTI. That's the national board.
Uh-huh.
They have a curriculum called the WISE curriculum. That WISE curriculum is what if you want to go get a job working at a Geek Squad or You Break I Fix, or I Fix Your Eye, or wherever you go, you can get in there and put that together and say, here's the curriculum. So there's a guy on our team, Chris Jonicki, who connected us 2 years ago at CES.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm at CES for Luminar. I can have a dinner with the CTIA. Happens to be that they're members of the club. They have parents with special needs there. They loved it. So now we're creating a curriculum for the neurodiverse. We're including universal design in it. It'll be able to go into other languages, be able to support people with varying needs, and we're creating a curriculum. We've got, knock on wood, money in the state budget in the state of Florida to do a job training program, workforce development. We're partnering with UCF. We're partnering with Workforce Central Florida. We're partnering with a bunch of the local organizations like Smile Farms to find individuals who are essentially sitting on couches.
Yep.
And then we're going to...
When they're lucky.
If they're lucky, yes. And get them to be able to go through this curriculum. And we're creating a business where they can work at, a for-profit social enterprise, where we can pay a living wage, but we can win 4 times.
Go ahead, 4 times.
We can give that individual that life of dignity and purpose.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important part. Second, we can give the families peace and a little bit of financial reprieve, because if you're paying that individual enough money where they can go get pizza and wings and a movie with their friends.
That's not coming out of the parents or siblings, partners.
Exactly. And they get that sense of worth. They paid for that themselves.
Mm-hmm.
The third thing you can do...
They're contributing to the economic wheel.
Exactly. The third thing you can do is if you can make a profit. Now, I'm thinking we can make... Our modeling says we can make $5 million a year in profits. If we make $5 million a year in profits, we can then roll those profits over to the services side to charge the parents less each year as the business grows. We can do more and more services for less and less cost to the families.
Mm-hmm.
And we've discovered the last one, which is if we can get contracts from the local school systems to repair the Chromebooks and those other things, you can get a second rinse of those tax dollars that have already gone to use and employ the underemployed.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're winning 4 times with one for-profit business.
And when you talk about unemployment is very low in this country, and it's especially low here in Florida because people are moving here to work for a new lifestyle, to be able to afford a home and to have a healthy environment to raise their families. And I would imagine if your program gets going the way I think it will, this will be even a more attractive place for people to come to work and live, especially people who have a special needs person in their family. You'll become a mecca and get more and more overwhelmed.
Yes. Every time I go see my parents in Wilmington, North Carolina, I try really hard to make a trip to Biddy and Bose because I just love what they're doing there.
Yes.
I love what you guys are doing. I mean, I love to see how other people are doing this. And I want to build upon what others are doing because there's so many great programs. We're just putting together in a unique way where we're ambitious enough or crazy enough, a little both, to do live and work at the same time.
I think it's amazing, and the reason why we're here chatting today, I think what you're doing is amazing. I want to shine a light on it. I want to learn from you. I want to help you, and turn our audience, our community, on to what you're doing, because as you look in the statistics, a good number of our community members are impacted directly by someone with neurological with some kind of a disability, one kind or another, in their families, and there's just not enough going on. So let's unleash the entrepreneurial spirit to solve this problem. Let's not sit back and wait for others to do it, and copy your example where we can learn from others who do it really well, like you're doing, and then pay it forward again, give the other opportunity for other people in their communities to say, hey, if Jason and his team can do this in Central Florida, maybe we can do this here in Sheboygan, as you said. Exciting stuff. So next step in your process?
So this summer we're going to launch the workforce development program. That's the first one, is in the cell phone tablet repair. We've created 14 different job descriptions to work at Jonathan's Landing. So even if you don't have the fine skills.
And we didn't mention your son is Jonathan.
My son is Jonathan, and hence it's called Jonathan's Landing.
Yeah. And do you have a physical place in mind that you're
very, very close to where we're sitting here? Yep. Ideally, I'd love to be inside Lake Nona, as close as we can to Lake Nona, because it's such an amazing community, and we want to be near an urban core.
Yes.
So we can engage the community and invite the community into Jonathan's Landing.
You'll be all over this, Jason, but I was a week before last. I spent some time out at Redmond, Washington, visiting with the Microsoft people, trying to get my understanding of AI and where it's going to take us up to speed. And yes, it might have gotten closer to being up to speed that week, but 2 weeks have passed, so it's all old news now. But the world is changing so quickly. It's a world you understand and have been a part of. But being in a community like this, where here at Lake Nona, in Orlando, a Tavistock development property where they have parts of the University of Central Florida, they have KPMG's Lake House, which is their enormous global training center for all of their people, come in, get training and enculturated and move back to their communities. You have all these companies setting up their headquarters here in this planned community, a 17,000-acre property here at Lake Nona, which is as big or bigger than the island of Manhattan. So it's an enormous idea, and certainly developing property like this on this scale is not for the faint of heart. But it's just an amazing property. But I say that with the AI question because having self-driving vehicles is a game changer for people with disability. And I suspect you would tell me we're not terribly far.
So actually, they have a self-driving shuttle system here in Lake Nona, a company by the name of Beep that operates. And actually, that's one of the reasons why I want to be here. And the viewers won't understand this, but this is where I made my career, was in self-driving cars and making the eyes for self-driving cars at Luminar. And I love it when people come to me, they go, have you thought about transportation? And I kind of go, like, oh, sorry, I forgot.
Only every waking hour and some not waking.
So my hope is that my ask is that we find land that is an autonomous shuttle away from this core downtown campus. And from the core, if we can get to the core, and more importantly, we can get to the UCF Medical Center via a self-driving shuttle. Powered by the LiDAR I spent the last 12 years designing. I'll build my own shuttle. That'll be easier than building Jonathan's Landing. I'm not worried about that. But if we can get them there, UCF operates a shuttle directly to their main campus, directly to the research park where there are jobs. They operate a shuttle from the main campus to the downtown campus and to the Rosen Center. And I think eventually, as more and more people come, there'll be a shuttle. So there'll be a private bus line as a way, and this is incorporated into the MOU we have with UCF today with Jonathan's Landing. So if we can solve that last mile of transportation with an autonomous shuttle, we can then link them to the airport and to other places for career opportunities.
Hi, I'm Jim McCann.
And I'm George Everly Jr.
During the COVID-19 epidemic, I stumbled upon an article that Dr. George wrote, which had a real strong impact on me in terms of how COVID was and was likely to impact our social connections, our relationships. And it really, really resonated with me. So I reached out to George, basically wrote him a fan letter, and that began our relationship.
We found a mutual interest in helping people become their best selves, especially in times of adversity.
Together, we embarked on a quest to co-write Lodestar. That journey began with countless hours of researching the most impactful self-help books out there.
Once we had our picks, we combined the science with the practical.
The result of our journey, the creation of a one-stop shop for the best of the best in self-help.
We decided to write this book to help others go from where they are to where they want to be and be the best possible selves they could be.
So if you're looking to boost your career, build stronger relationships, or simply become the best version of yourself, Lodestar is here to guide you on your path.
At Smile Farms, my second week there, I met a gentleman named Kenny.
Mm-hmm.
So we were getting ready to set up for Mother's Day, Bring Your Mom to Work Day. And I came into the room and I saw a bunch of guys just sitting there, and Beth, who works with us, said, "Come in, Aunt, meet everybody." So look at this gentleman. I look at him, I go, "Hey," she goes, "This is Kenny." He stands up and he's got this big smile on. He's got this really cool hat and gloves on.
And bling.
Yeah, and bling. Kenny had some bling on. And I said, "Oh, Kenny, what do you like about working at Smile Farms?" I said, "I'm new." And he said, "I got to buy all this stuff for me. I went to the store and bought this." And I was so touched by it. And the dignity is just so amazing when they have that ability to go purchase their own clothing, hat, and gives them their own personality. It's just, I was blown out of my socks.
We need to give these individuals an opportunity. The absenteeism is very low. The pride, they're going to show up every day. I think in one of your past podcasts, you were talking about the Walgreens and the guys dancing,
Yep.
right? Do you want dancing or do you want complaining?
Mm-hmm.
I'll go dancing all day long, right? I'll go with the arm flapping of Jonathan all day long,
Yep.
because when those arms are flapping, I know he's happy.
Yep.
He's happy.
Talk dignity, thank you, Anthony, but talk about being part of a community. One thing that emotionally just grabbed my heart hard was I was chatting with Walter Stockton, and we were talking about a state program that was being phased out. And he said, Jim, if it wasn't for your brother and sisters who have been so close to us and worked so close with IGHL and with Smile Farms over the years, a program elimination like just happened, it could wind up that we'd be forced to put your brother in an SRO in a community that was struggling with a caseworker who might come and visit him every few months. And the thought of that, I didn't sleep for a week because he wouldn't last very long. But thank God we have a family that's involved and with some means, and that we can be very involved and raise money for Smile Farms and for IGHL and assure that our brother is well taken care of. But I remember hearing that, knowing in my first career as a social worker running a home for boys, the toughest part was when they hit the services cliff.
Mm-hmm.
We'd have them long term at that time, and that doesn't happen anymore. And we made real changes in people's lives, and I'm very proud of the work I got to be a part of, and especially proud of the people who do that for a career their whole life and have so many impacts on people. But the idea of my brother or anyone else with limited abilities like that on their own, subject to what could happen on the street, just frightening. But it's real for a lot of families.
It's daunting. You're spot on, and you and your sisters have gone that extra mile because you're exposed to it for your brother.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm doing this because of my son. But what I want, my other selfish motivation is I don't want my daughter, Ella, to have to be responsible for Jonathan. I want her to be involved in his life, but I don't want her to be responsible. She can't
process that today
Yeah.
in terms of the amount of time I spend on this, but I want her to have the freedom to go away on vacation, the freedom to go move across the country or to Europe for a great job and not be burdened with that for after I'm gone. And there's so many families that are anchored.
The idea of a vacation is a foreign idea to so many of these families.
Absolutely.
They can't do it. They can't even get the day off.
And that's where we've designed everything from respite care to onboarding to engagement.
What I was reading about is what I liked a lot is that it's not just going to be they're going to help. They're going to just try and grow everyone and get them from being in the house to moving, maybe even moving out at some point. Moving in. I was reading about how you were talking about having them workers come and work with them, build up, try and have everybody have a little bit more, break the silos down and move them out.
Mhm.
And I thought that was incredible. And have them come back and visit as alumni and not maybe live in the community, right? Is that what you're
Right.
saying, right?
Yeah, right. Have them come back.
Come back.
Engaged in
Exactly.
the community.
Yeah.
But if you don't need to live there, you shouldn't live there.
Correct.
You should be able to live to your
Well,
highest potential.
I think we're confusing community here, meaning that there's a physical community
Right.
where they could live, but then there's a broader community like
Yes.
you're talking about with alumni. So if you don't need to live in this highly sheltered environment and you've skills to develop that you can live more independently, you're still going to be part of the bigger
Absolutely.
community.
Yes.
Right. And
Exactly.
right. So and that's, by the way, that's why it's 500 and 5,000.
Yes.
Because we can do a lot with jobs at 5,000 without having to physically be on campus.
Mhm.
But you said something interesting. You said highly sheltered. And I think that's actually a really important pickup. Most of the housing solutions today serve the lowest needs or the highest functioning.
Yes.
There's no real place for Jonathan to go today.
Yes.
Our intention is to service the lower needs first,
Mhm.
then the mid needs, and then even the highest needs.
They're profound.
That need the most. I call them bumpers.
Yeah.
Right. Our big win was, I just posted this to Facebook. Our big win this weekend is Jonathan was able to bowl independently without the bumpers on. Right. We talk about bumpers.
Yes.
That's what these kids need.
Yeah.
And they will be able to.
Some will be able to graduate beyond to the next
Right.
alley.
Okay, you're an even more successful entrepreneur than me. Imagine if I came and you said, "All right,
I don't have 85 patents. I can't
yeah,
even spell patent.
yeah, nobody knows what Luminar is. Everyone knows what 1-800 Flowers is. So imagine if you said, I was going to take my best, highest productive employees and kick them out of the company and send them elsewhere.
Mhm.
That's what we're going to do. Now, that's not what you do as an entrepreneur. We're going to take our highest functioning, highest performing employees, and in an ideal world, they get a job at an I Fix Your Eye, You Break, I Fix, Geek Squad, or Genius Bar.
Yep.
Or at the UCF computer store, or Lockheed Martin in the repair shop, and they get a meaningful wage, but they still may need job coaching or job support, a little bit of support. But we want our best employees to be able to work and live independently. They're paid a living wage. They can take an Uber. Maybe they're driving themselves. It may take us 10 years to get them there, but let's get them there.
But Uber / autonomous vehicles, that transportation question, it's right nearby. It's getting closer and closer all the time. And that's independence for a lot of people.
That was the motivator at Luminar for me, was to create that level of independence that comes with those who just
Can be
can't
mobile.
drive.
They can go to a movie theater.
Correct.
Mm.
And I can't put Jonathan in an Uber today with somebody else because I don't trust that driver.
Yeah.
Correct.
Not that there's anything nefarious, but you don't know.
Yeah.
But an autonomous shuttle with my eyes in it and software, I'll put Jonathan in an autonomous shuttle. Now he may hack it and take it to Hoboken. I don't know. He's that good with tech, but I'll put him in that shuttle.
Yeah.
And I'll trust that.
So AI is is something that people are very apprehensive about. You're not. You're embracing it because you see all the good things that come from it. What else might artificial intelligence, the machinification of so many things, what else might it do that would be impactful on this community?
Well, I think I think we plan to use it when we build Jonathan's Landing, just to know and gather data.
Yes.
So when you have 500 residents and 5,000, you now have the largest living laboratory individuals on the spectrum. We can track engagement. Are they not just they're gaining weight, but are they exercising? Are they getting the coaching to do so? Are they eating healthy? Are they coming down for dinner at all? They're locked out of their room. Their face should be the key. No one should need a key. Right? All of that technology, those smart city initiatives,
Yes.
smart home, and we're talking to some of the largest companies. This is the great thing being a tech guy, right? Is I can talk to these companies like, oh, yeah, and we understand their language.
But here's my, I mentioned this to you when we chatted one other time. What else could you do? Here you are, so many people come to Florida, not particularly Central Florida, but come to Florida to retire or to change their lifestyle. I think the idea of retirement is changing. And I think that's going to inure to your benefit, because I think there's going to be some people who have some great energy, great personalities, wherewithal, ideas that'll come here to be part of this community, even if they're not personally impacted. And I think that's an exciting thing. So I mentioned to you once before that we almost, we had a deal for some land that we were going to build some greenhouses on. It was quite near my brother Kevin's group home, but it was owned by a healthcare system, and they said, we'll let you do it, but be careful of your capital here, because we might have to claim it back at any time. I don't know. So you're welcome to build on it, but it could be a year from now, it could be 5 years from now, it could be never, but we're going to develop senior housing on this property. So I said, well, that's okay, because when you do, I'd like to be the centerpiece of it. Our greenhouses are growing food and microgreens and all different kinds of foodstuffs that the people who live here would like and should be eating. And we could create some volunteer opportunities, some work opportunities, and some integration opportunities for your community to integrate with our community. How's your thinking on that realm? There's so many people with means who want to come to Florida and Central Florida. How could they play a role in your dreams?
So I think people, despite social media and the news, I think people inherently want to do the right thing. They want to be involved. They want to do good. They just don't know how. And same thing on both individuals. Let's go back to corporations.
Both paid for and volunteer.
Well, I think of it as three things: time, treasure, and talent. It's one of those three.
Yep.
They can give their time, they can give their treasure, they can give their talent. But there's another aspect, both for the individuals to do that, but also the corporations. Imagine, so let's just take the list of the companies that you've had on this podcast before today.
Because no one will come on again now.
Because
they can't live up to you.
Yeah. Tell my mom that. Or my daughter, she'd probably appreciate that more. But if you look at all these corporations, all of them have cell phones, tablets, IT infrastructure.
Yes.
All of them have budgets to go repair those things. What if those budgets were reallocated to employ the underemployed? That's how we build something sustainable.
80% of whom are unemployed. That is, 80% of those with a disability, adults, who are qualified to work. 80% of those are unemployed. What a work pool.
And the ones who are employed are underemployed.
Underemployed, sure.
Which is why in the food program, we're creating a culinary technician path to cook and prepare food. And yes, a farm, there's a great organization called Four Roots Farm.
Yes.
John Rivers' program that we will partner with John. I love what they're doing there.
He's a terrific guy. We're going to talk to him tomorrow.
Perfect. And we'll work with Four Roots Farm. But back to the tech, we can engage these companies. And so we have. CTIA got us in front of Apple. They got us in front of Samsung. We've had meetings with HP. I'm a tech guy, so we have these meetings. They said, we'd love to have your kids work, but you need to make sure you've got a good quality management system and you meet our quality standards. I went, great, we'll have a QMS program. Which do you want?
Yeah.
And they're like, you understand what we're talking about? Is it not-for-profit? I'm like, yeah. So there's a great
Not-for-profit is only a tax status.
Correct. And there's nothing that says you can't make a profit in one part of your not-for-profit to offset costs in the other part.
And that's the beauty of what you're doing, because there's nothing wrong with people doing well by doing good. I think it's the ultimate benefit of capitalism.
And we want to give people an opportunity to do good, whether it's coming to our place to have a meal with a celebrity chef, whether it's coming to have a meal just to engage, whether it's getting your business to send their old IT assets to get repaired, refurbished. Some companies pay somebody else to dispose of their assets.
Mm-hmm.
Give them to us. We'll do that R2V2.
Yeah.
2V3, I said that wrong. We'll do that certification. We'll certify. We'll issue a certificate of destruction. And we'll be able to sell it when we're done.
And so many companies, I've only come to learn in recent few years, want to buy 1,000 smartphones. Well, they don't need 1,000 brand new smartphones. They could have used smartphones that have been reconditioned, certified, run clean, and have their software loaded on, so their field technicians all have the same capability. And especially as you see, everything runs now on a smartphone, including the whole concept of Uber and Lyft, that it works. You're mentioning the culinary arts. We have a success story in New York that only happened in the recent several months. A friend of ours, a friend of Smile Farms, Tom Colicchio, the famous chef, who one of his 5 restaurants in Manhattan is my favorite restaurant in Manhattan called Kraft. And he runs a company called Kraft Hospitality. And Tom's been terrific to Smile Farms and our people. And he employs in Kraft, I think, 5 or 6 of our people. And one of them, who he called the world's greatest glass polisher, recently graduated to the cooking line. And Tom told me that they have a full team meeting every afternoon before they get ready for dinner. Everyone comes, dishwashers, chefs, salad cooks, wait staff, bartenders, hostesses. Everyone shows up for the full team meeting. And when our guy, who I won't mention his name, it was his first day going to be on the line, and he gave most of them had never heard him speak before. And when he gave a story about, and his mom was there, that this was the greatest day of his life, that his dreams had been fulfilled. And he said, Tom told me there wasn't a dry eye in the house.
I was going to say
60, 70 people standing around. And this fellow who had never spoken before told him how this was the greatest day of his life. I think they had a good night in a restaurant that night.
We need more of those.
We do. So many more. So how are you doing on the fundraising side of things?
We're just getting started. We've got the foundation set up. I view my role as to be the catalyst to help get this started, create the infrastructure, build the team, and now we're going to start our capital campaign to start building Jonathan's Landing, acquire the land, build the actual areas. We've had Baker Barrios here in town, which is one of the predominant architecture firms, has done all the renderings you see in the papers here, and they're helping us design something that's never been built before.
One of the things that you talk about in your materials is doing everything sustainable from the first day. How do you think about sustainability and what role that can play in your efforts here?
It's just part of what we're doing, but I think we're talking more about the sustainability in terms of economic sustainability.
Well, that's first, but also the climate-related parts of sustainability, recycling products. Everyone has
that's what
3 or 4 of these at home.
Exactly, but it's not. What's interesting. It's not the 3 or 4 that everyone has at home. It's the 300 or 400 that are sitting on a pallet somewhere that are set to go to a landfill that we can bring in, wipe, clear, repair,
reload with the right software,
and send out. It could go to a developing country. It could go elsewhere, and we can make money, which means offsetting costs in doing so. We can do. HP's got a great program where they recycle in the LA area, where they recycle printers, and they use felons who've been come out of prison. They get a second chance.
Excellent.
In inner city. I mean, a great way to do good. So that's part of the sustainability. And then we do have sustainability as part of what we do at Jonathan's Landing as well, that we're trying to balance the costs of building something versus the sustainability part.
Jason, how much will the first phase of getting the 505,000 going, how much do you think that will be all in?
The first phase is about 100 to 150 residents and the full jobs program on the tech side. It's probably going to be sort of the $30 to $50 million to do. And then we've got plans to go up to $150 million to go build it, because a lot of that is the infrastructure to then share it elsewhere for free around the world.
I can imagine a couple living in Columbus, Ohio, thinking about where to go. They have pensions. They can take an early retirement, but they don't want to retire, and they want to be a part of something special. And she always was busy around town working in community. But wouldn't it be interesting if they could buy a home at Jonathan's Landing and be part of something special and have something that keeps them interested, engaged, and productive, where they could, the profit that would inure to the home that they bought here would go to Jonathan's Landing, because they get some kind of a commission with working with the developers here. And these people would have a wonderful opportunity to not just be in this great weather away from the snow, but be in a community that they could play a very, very important and fertile role in making it what you think it can become. I think there's an unbelievable opportunity there for people to come on a mission.
My team says it's my job to sprinkle the pixie dust, to lead them here to go do that. This is going to be a destination for people to come to where they have hope. For the first time, maybe in years, they have hope that their child or their sibling or their niece or nephew will be in a community where they're taken care of. They're safe. That's my purpose on this planet, to go do that. I'm so blessed to be able to do what I'm able to do today. I've had the success, and for me, I call this my chapter 3, moving from a life of reputation building to a life of legacy building. That's what I get to do.
Bless you, boy. What you're doing is amazing. I'm so happy I met you here several months ago. Happy that we've gotten connected. I'm so happy to introduce you to our community and shine a light on what you're doing, because you are doing the ultimate, doing well by doing good and having an impact in the whole open source aspect of what you're doing. Just takes it to another level. The whole idea that people doing something in one community can share information with you. It'll influence your plans. You'll tune and tweak things, and they can take from that what they will and do their version in their community. It just makes a great idea bigger and better. And we're lucky as can be to have met you. Happy to shine a light on you. Happy to help you in any way we can, and to learn from you and help. It'll shape, I'm sure, Anthony, you could attest that it'll shape how we think about what we do at Smile Farms and how we can shine the light here.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jason.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you. I'm really honored.
So if someone wanted to get in touch with you and learn more about what you're doing at Jonathan Landing and help out in some way financially and others, how can they get in touch?
Go to jonathanslanding.org, which is our website. There's info at Jonathan's Landing, but go right on the website. You can look at it. Hit me up on LinkedIn. We've got a Facebook and Instagram story as well. You can go see what we're doing. Hit us up. We'll definitely be in touch.
We'll come back and tell the evolution of this story more and more as it unfolds, and I'm sure it'll be a grand story. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
We put our heart into everything we do. We are farmers, bakers, florists, and makers who grow and create with a passion. Made with love at every step of the way. Because at the end of the day, we know you're sending more than a gift. 1-800-Flowers, share with love.
Well, I hope you enjoyed what you heard, and I know I'll be sharing it forward. I hope you get to as well. Let's keep the conversation going. Follow me along on Twitter at Jim1800Flowers and on LinkedIn at Jim McCann. Hope to talk to you soon.